I'm Nicki Minaj, and this
is Authenticity Radio.
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.
Let's go to the beach, eat, let's go get a wave. They say what they gonna say. Have a drink, clink, found a Bud Light. Bad like me, it's hard to come by. The Patron, let's go get it down. The sound, yes, I'm in the zone. Is it 2, 3? Leave a good tip. I'ma blow all of my money and don't give I'm on the floor.
And now, your host, who has the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper, Slade Suter.
Rusted brandy in a diamond glass. Everything is made.
And thank you very much, and welcome to today's program. This is Slade Suter.
Only the fools know what it means. Temptation.
Today I am broadcasting from a city called Tarragona, Spain.
Temptation.
Feelings first, parenting. Peaceful parenting. Today I have a parenting specialist. Jane Evans joins us today. And Jane is from Chippenham, England. Chippenham, England. Jane, welcome to Authenticity Radio.
Hi Slade, and thank you so much for inviting me onto your great show today.
It is wonderful to have you here, Jane. I have so many questions for you because I am a parent, and so many of our listeners are parents or children of parents.
Yes, I always say that we've either been parented or we are raising children. So either way, we've had some experience of parenting.
Or some of us are aliens that are taking human form.
Well, yeah, but maybe they also had alien parents.
Well,
who knows?
There we go. Alien parents. So that could be another program, Jane.
Yes, I'm liking it.
So I love this idea of peaceful parenting, or as you say, feelings first parenting.
What I have learned over the last, 22 years, I became a parent myself 22 years ago and have also been lucky to be a step parent and a foster carer along the way, amongst other things, is that actually we don't have to use the traditional model of parenting, which has been handed down through the generations.
Well, is there such a thing as a traditional idea or role of parenting?
Well, I think what most parenting that I know of hinges on, and I've looked at it extensively because it's been my personal journey, but also my professional journey has been to work with parents, carers, and children for about 20 years. And what I've discovered is that whichever way it's wrapped up, and there are different parenting courses and books and all sorts of things, it boils down to that you reward or give attention for behavior that you do want, and you either withdraw attention or you give consequences or punishments for behavior that you don't want. But it does come in different wrappers, I'll grant you that.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking before, and you said that it's possible to raise healthy, happy, respectful children using 100% kindness.
Yes, which seems like such a revolutionary thing to say because it's just not most people's belief system or lived experience. That unfortunately we're raised with this fear almost of treating children a bit like sheep that we have to round up, and that if we don't round them up, these sheep are going to do something crazy and they're going to show us up and they're not going to go in their pen and,
no,
we start
Mama,
off...
no, leave me alone.
Exactly. It's that kind of attitude that if we don't get in there quick and lay down the law, the children are definitely going to do something wrong. Mm-hmm. Which is, if you think about it, if you were at work and somebody was treating you like that, if I don't come down really hard on you, Slade, all the time, and if you just even look like you might press the wrong button, I'm going to pile in, then inevitably you're going to press the wrong button.
So you want to correct my behavior.
Exactly. Anticipate that you are definitely going to behave badly and be there running in to correct you. Mm-hmm. And that's out of fear, what most of us do.
Until I'm out of the point, or I arrive to the point where I'm conditioned
Yes.
especially in front of you, Mama or Daddy,
Yeah.
to behave all the time as you expect me to.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head so well. It is so much about conditioning. You know, our parenting that we have is very much based on what's called behaviorism, which goes back to, you know, having little rats in boxes and giving them food pellets for things. And that's where the model of parenting that we use nowadays pretty much evolved from, is from what we did with rats.
Okay.
And if you think about dog training, what we still do now, you know, to get the dog to sit, you hold up a doggy biscuit and you say sit very clearly. And if they don't sit, then they're in trouble.
Well, there we go. Cesar Millan has earned a name, the dog whisperer. And Super Nanny has taken a lot of these techniques. I mean, this is me, listening audience. I'm doing this, okay? So don't worry. Cesar Millan and Super Nanny are somewhat similar in the fact that they are spending a large amount of time and energy in conditioning children's behavior to the dog's behavior and children's behavior, because we can learn to behave in a certain way at certain times based on a little punishment or, as you say, Jane, rewards.
Yeah.
And so this is beyond Super Nanny.
Yeah, this is kind of the opposite to Super Nanny. I'm trying to give parents confidence in themselves and the greatness and goodness that's in them, and more and most importantly, the greatness and the goodness that is in your child. You know, children are these amazingly wonderful, kind, loving, giving little beings. When we hold them in our arms, you know, as tiny babies, we can't imagine shouting at them, sending them to their room, taking their stuff off them. You know, and yet that's what most of us end up doing. And, you know, I did some of that stuff with my own child because I didn't know what I know now. But it's counterintuitive to what children come into the world with, which is a natural pre-wired disposition to connect with us, because they're not going to survive. They're not going to get their needs met if they don't connect with us. And if we work with that strong desire and need to have a good connection with us and to please us, then we get the best from our children. But unfortunately, our fear and the model we have handed down to us gets in the way and messes with that, so that we fall back on, we will teach children by doing something unpleasant to them or by offering them some inducement or some shiny thing.
Well, Jane, hold on. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
Come on.
It seems easier that way.
Okay, here, hold on. I'm working, I come home, and then I'm expected to parent. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? It's so much easier to control the situation by using control, and I'm playing with you, Jane. But anyway, not so much. I'm not really playing with you, because our generation has done the opposite in so many ways with emotions. I was told as a boy or growing up not to allow my emotions to get in the way, to use logic, to stay in control. And so you are actually advocating to do what? To open Pandora's box?
Well, but open it in a way that informs. You know, the whole point, the whole reason why, and I was reading some statistics on young people, on depression in children, actually, not even in young people, in children in the UK, and it's just going off the scale. Depression. It's not so much taking the lid off Pandora's box, because you won't need to. If you start this stuff with your tiny baby or your little child who comes to you via adoption or fostering or however that child comes to you, there is no Pandora's box, because your daily language is, oh, I wonder how that feels, because mummy is feeling like this, or daddy felt like that, or I think your sister might be feeling a bit sad that she couldn't get a turn with your train. It's just a part of your daily life. Everything that happens, whether it's good, bad, whatever, you always go in with, wow, let's unpack the feelings. But you do it in a way that just becomes a part of your vocabulary, and it's very minimal, actually. Whereas when you have to stop, think about a punishment or a consequence for a child, that can take some doing. The older they get, the harder it gets. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to take their phone away, or I'm going to, trust me, like my son was about 6 foot by the time he was 14, 15, and I'm 5'4". Really, what am I going to do? Whereas because I had that emotional connection and he cared about how I felt, we could work things through more easily, and we didn't have to go toe to toe, because clearly physically I'm never going to win.
Yeah, I don't think you could spank a 16-year-old boy.
And why would you? Why would I say if we want to raise children under a model of power and control, we are setting up then either you have to be the more powerful person, so you've got to be the scary, shouty one, or you've got to submit to someone who is more powerful than you in order to get on in life and have a good relationship. But none of this stuff sets us up to have great emotional health. And that is sort of the end game. It's not about just control the child this second. We all want our children to be happy and healthy. No parent I've ever met in the land doesn't want that. And the best way to do this is to feed our emotional needs, have that emotional connection. Always be your child's safe place that they carry within themselves wherever they go in the world. They still have that sense of, I matter to someone, that somebody always cared about how I felt, and that's what I have to draw upon and to give out into the world.
So by verbalizing the emotions of how you felt, you're validating the existence of the emotion itself.
Exactly, because we all have emotions. When you were told to be this very logical person, it didn't stop you having feelings. You just learn that no one's interested, and I have to sit on my feelings and deal with them in my whatever 7-year-old body and brain, but I still have the feelings. They don't go anywhere. They just stay trapped in me, and they're unprocessed. And, I certainly know myself, because I was not able to put into words my feelings. In the end, I got really ill. I got ill, and that's what will happen in some way, shape or form, either physically or emotionally. It will make us ill. And none of us want that. Yeah,
I agree, Jane. It's very important to allow the feelings to exist and to process them. There was an article I just got done reading. It's a scholarly article by Martha Nussbaum, the title of the article is called "Emotions, Judgments of Value."
Wow.
And the idea of this emotions is that emotion is a conditioned part of thinking. That emotions are part of thinking itself. This comes off of an experience that she had with her mother dying, and the experience of the emotions that she experienced during this whole unfolding event. And she came up with the conclusion that with the urgency and heat, their tendency, emotions, of taking over the personality and moving it into an action with overwhelming force, that emotions are a force of thinking. And it's part of that is for our benefit. And so the emotions that we're actually experiencing is to serve as a guide for us, if we are wise enough to start listening to them as part of who we are, is an integral, not separate from our logic thinking.
Exactly. I mean, our whole, we have 3 parts of our brain, and they're all interconnected, and we need all 3 parts. So if we try to not go to the emotional part of our brain, we're fighting our brain all the time, and that's not going to make us well. And also, it's not going to make us the kind of person who gets on really well with other people, because you won't come across as genuine. You won't, and you might overlook how someone else is feeling. The whole thing that I do is I try to encourage parents to teach their children to understand other people's feelings as well as their own. because children want to please and get on. And if they understand, which they quite quickly do if you keep this whole thing going from really early age, they will understand, oh, so if I push another child, it makes them feel sad, and when I feel sad, that's not a good feeling. So actually I'm going to try really hard not to push another child. And it becomes their internal dialogue. It becomes their internal framework that they carry through life. Oh yeah, I remember when I cut someone up in the car, it scared me and I felt really anxious, and I could just see from the quick look on the driver's face it did the same for them, and I don't want to do that to people.
Wow,
that's
a lot of work, Jane, because
but it becomes part of your everyday process.
Right, it's kind of like you're bringing something from the unconscious to the conscious, to your awareness, and then taking the extra step and bringing it into words, to being able to express it.
You'll still be feeling all those feelings. So if somebody cuts you up in the car, or you cut someone else up, you'll still be doing a lot of thinking and a lot of emotions, but they'll be angry, they'll be rage, or they'll be feeling embarrassed, or so you'll have all that stuff going on, which will physically affect you and stop you thinking straight and blah, blah, blah. But it will just keep going round and round and round in your head. Whereas if you can quickly do this work, which the more you do it, then it becomes just second nature. Like I catch myself often now, if I'm having a day when I think, do you know, I just feel so frustrated today. I've kept contacting this place that said they wanted training from me. I've kept contacting this place that they said they wanted me to speak in an event, and they're not getting back to me. And so now I will go, wow, what is this big feeling I'm having? Because it's very unpleasant. I unpack it, and then I can sit with it much more easily, and it doesn't get in the way of my other stuff, which is a great gift.
So Jane, could you give us an example? See, when I'm angry as a parent, okay?
Yeah.
Give me an example of how I am to approach my, if my son or my daughter oversteps our boundary and I am angry in the process, how am I to offer correction at that stage?
Okay, well, the very first thing you need to do is to calm yourself down. So you need to get to know what it feels like when you're angry, which, you know, hopefully by our ages we should know that, but if you've not had that kind of childhood, actually you won't. So beginning to learn for yourself, what are the kind of things that set me off, and how does that feel? Oh wow, I'm feeling really angry. So then you need to actually step away from the situation, as long as the children are safe. So if they're really physically fighting with each other, obviously you have to make things safe, and it might involve you physically separating and holding and being kind. And if you can't do that right now, then just make them safe however you can. You know, I always say to people, if you think you're going to harm your child because you're so angry, then get yourself out of the situation or get them somewhere. Otherwise, I say keep the children close to you. So the most important thing is you have to work out how you get calm. So whatever's going to happen, whether they're going to be on the end of your nose, screaming in your face, whether they've just deliberately done the very thing that you asked them not to do and it's all gone horribly wrong, you have got to learn to catch yourself. And you have to train yourself, really, to catch yourself. And then you have to, once you are feeling calm enough, so you're back in the thinking part of your brain, not the basic animal, I just want to do what I want to do to you, then you can go in and you can get some connection with your child, because they're in a really frightened, disorientated emotional state as well. So then it's about some kind of connection, and with a little child you might just be able to put your hand on their arm, even if they're throwing themselves around the floor, but in some way connect, even if it's just through your voice. Okay, I can see that you're really struggling. I can see this is really hard for you. Actually, it's quite hard for me too. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to breathe and get calm because I'm finding this really hard. And the more that you breathe, you know, it then it affects your body and your brain, and hopefully the child might join in, or at least they'll see what to do. And then you go in with kindness. So you calm, connect, and then you always use kindness. It will work much better. What can I do? It looks like this is really big for you. This is really hard. You have some big feelings. That's your next step. And then there is correction. So, you know, saying, but again, kindly, God, you know it's not okay. we all know it's not okay to yell in someone's face. So let me explore with you how this feels, and let me find out how you're feeling, and then let's make a plan, because you know that we can't go through life yelling in people's faces. Let's make a plan.
I just found it very interesting to spend the time necessary in order to make that connection.
It is. It's the thing that I think so much, because life is so demanding now. You know, we're always on a screen. We're always we're so distracted as parents because life is hard. There's a lot of pressure. Everything's got to happen now. Everyone can get to us right now. That we are losing this connection with our children. What children really need to know is that we're available to them every day. Now, not every day, all day, because we can't be. But if you just, like when the children are older, particularly, and they come in from school, and depending on what kind of day they had, they might shoot straight in their room, as my son would sometimes do. So I would leave him a little moment to settle, and then I would pop to his room on the pretext of discussing dinner that night or taking his socks, whatever, But it was really to reconnect, just let him know that I'm here, I care, I'm interested. Even if I just got grunts back, that's fine. I've offered the reconnection, and then maybe later he might wander down and tell me something about his day. And with little children, even more so, if you have to go in the kitchen to get dinner or whatever you're doing, or even if I studied for my degree when my son was 5. So often I would be in one room studying and he would be in the other, but we would talk through the room, through the door. So he still felt connected to me. Children get in terrible states, especially older children, when they just don't feel connected to us. So however busy your life is, you have to every day, whether it's via FaceTime or whatever you're doing, you need to connect with your child, let them know that they matter. They have to know they matter to you. And then they'll just cope so much better with all the bumps in the road that come to all of us.
And even that word. You know what? I just want you to know that you really matter to me. And,
Yes.
and I care about you. And leave it there. But
Exactly.
But just bring it to words, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What are some of the benefits of making a safe place for the emotions?
Well, we've already talked about the emotional health and the mental health benefits, which are enormous. But perhaps for me, one of the biggest motivational forces is that it's how we keep our children safe.
What do you mean safe?
Well, particularly in the UK at the moment, there is case after case after case after case of child being sexually abused. There are the figures for young people going into unhealthy, abusive relationships as they turn into their teenage years are going through the roof. And the reasons why these things happen are because without that emotional connection to somebody that you know is your safe place, you will come across vulnerable. You just will give off that vibe into the world. And the pedophiles and the abusive people who are going to put you in a relationship and not treat you well, they can spot that a mile off. I would imagine you're right. The insecurity that we have, that we're just not okay with ourselves. Exactly.
And
we don't matter.
Bullies can pick that up as well. I'm going to bully you. I'm going to find a person who I can bully.
Yes, the person who is not able to put into words that this is not okay, it doesn't feel all right, that I feel frightened, is going to give off that kind of aura of vulnerability, however it presents, and it presents in many ways, but it's going to be a false kind of front that the bullies and the abusers and the pedophiles, their radars will go ballistic when they come across that kind of child. And if the adults around that child aren't constantly having some little connection every day, every way with that child, they won't pick up on there's something not right with my child. I can just sense it. With my own son, I can feel it straight away. He's 22 years old. I can immediately, a little thing goes off in me. Wow, there's something not feeling right with my boy. What do I need to do? Because we have such a strong emotional connection. And when your child has that with you and you have that with your child, it's like a safety shield that you send them off into the world with, and it just makes them less vulnerable. They are not going to look outside the home for someone to make them feel right and good about themselves
because they already feel right and good.
Yeah,
about themselves.
they have that system in place themselves.
Jiminy Christmas! Wow, Jane, this is you're asking for a lot of work on the part of a lot of parents.
Yeah, but the most rewarding work, being a parent and being a carer, raising children, is hard work.
And
the hardest thing we do.
It is so worth it, just based on what you just described here, of not only doing the work on the parent side ourselves, the emotional work, and then the expressing of how we feel, when we feel, and then also the bridge to make it okay for the child to always, and not only okay, but want the child wanting to bridge with us.
Yes.
Okay.
They've got to feel safe. They've got to know. Do you know what? When you strip all this stuff away, I can talk forever on this, but if you always go in with kindness, you'll be fine.
Well, there's many things, Jane, and you have written a book. How are you feeling today, baby bear?
Yes, I did. It's a book, and it's aimed at children from about 2 years up to about 6 years, although depending on their emotional maturity, it's quite useful for older children as well. And it's a little storybook about a bear who lives in a house where lots of difficult things happen. It's quite a scary house, and there's lots of big arguing. And the little bear often lies in bed at night hearing what seems to be a storm in the house, and sometimes comes down in the morning and sees things all a bit broken, and one of the big bears is crying, the other one's just going out the door, and it invites the adults sharing the book with the children to begin to explore the feelings that the little bear might have had, but in a really gentle way. Because what we often find is that children who grow up in homes where there is a lot of arguing and fighting and things are not going well, is that the children's emotions get overlooked. Mm-hmm. You know, we might just about manage to dress them, feed them, get them off to daycare or school or wherever they've got to go, but being absorbed in our own emotions and the other person's emotions, or it might be anything that's completely absorbing us. So where the child is just not having that emotional needs met or connection, that this is a really useful book to begin that process once things have got to a better place. Because as we were saying earlier on, you know, we still have all the feelings trapped in us. They're just not processed. They don't go away. So starting that process with the child, giving them opportunities to discover names for feelings and how they feel in their bodies is, again, you know, it's going to just give them great emotional health as early as we can possibly get in there.
Well, Jane, okay, how do people get a hold of you? Is that your website, feelingsfirstparenting.com?
Yes, that's a great way. www.feelingsfirstparenting.com is my website. You can email me. The details are on my website, and I'm very, very active on Twitter at Jane Parenting. I tweet a lot about children, parenting, how we're feeling, the importance of feelings. You get the drift.
I do. And matter of fact, that's how Jane and I met. We met through Twitter.
We did indeed. Yeah,
matter of fact, I keep talking about the marvels of Twitter, and so many of the great interviews that I have come through Twitter.
Yes, it's the first place I go to to get my book published. I wrote my book. I looked at how you get a book published, felt completely overwhelmed. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just go on Twitter. Who knows? You know, we live in this crazy Twitter world. Let's tweet about my book. And lo and behold, the very publisher I had in my head and in my heart and in my dreams contacted me on Twitter, and then, 6 months later offered me a book contract, and my book will be out in February. So if that's not the power of Twitter, and I get to meet you as well, so...
Okay, so how do your book is going to be available in February and how do people get a hold of it?
Okay, it's on Amazon at the moment for pre-order, and it's also on the Jessica Kingsley Publishers website. So if you Google How Are You Feeling Today, Baby Bear, and Jane Evans, it will come up. It's available in Australia. I've seen it on Australian and some other websites in other countries too, and in America.
Well, congratulations, Jane Evans.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just so glad that this little book will be out there for the children and for the adults as well, who would say to me, these things have gone on in my child's life. I have no idea even how to begin the conversation with my 4-year-old. I know we need to have it. I can see that they're suffering. I can see that, the splitting of the household has affected them, the fighting. I just don't know. How do you talk to a 3-4-year-old about that? So that was my motivation for this little book.
Well, Jane, what is your message for humankind?
My message for humankind is we need to be our child's safe place.
We need to be our child's safe place. From Jane Evans. Jane, thank you for joining us on Authenticity Radio today.
It's been my real pleasure, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my huge passion for how we raise our children today.
And we take your passion and we move forward to better parenting, peaceful parenting. Feelingsfirstparenting.com. This is Slade Suter. Until next time, be authentic, be true, and a peaceful parent, and be free.
Baby, it's because nobody needs me.
This is Authenticity Radio.
Hey, I'm Talisa.
The station's awesome.
I love the station.
Love the station.
Conflict is a choice you know.
Whoa, watch it. Sorry.
In order to gain a new perspective and how to resolve conflict in your organization, business, or family, go to AuthenticityRadio.com. All right, enough.
Come on! This is Authenticity Radio.
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.